All right, Kevin back with you for another episode of the $1 Million Relationships Podcast. And today I am here with Joe Apfelbaum. Joe, welcome. So awesome to have you on the show, man.
Thank you so much for having me on the program. Really excited to be here.
Yeah, and this is really cool because I have known of you for quite a long time. I don't even remember how. I mean, well, because we just kind of run in the same marketing circles. And then a little bit ago, probably about a month or so ago, I got an email from Jessica over at the Podcast Guest platform saying, Kevin, and she does this regularly with me, probably at least once a month, sometimes more frequently. She'll message me with a specific person. She goes, Kevin, I think this person would be a great person for you to interview for the $1 Million Relationships Podcast. And when she told me about you, Joe, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've heard of Joe, and I'd love to interview him. So I reached out to you, and here we are. And I just want to, I'm really appreciative of Jessica because, for one, she's never steered me wrong. And I've been really looking forward to having this conversation with you today, Joe.
Thank you very much for having me on the podcast, and I'm really excited about being here.
Yeah. So let's start by setting a little bit of context here and letting the listeners know a little bit about who you are, Joe. So why don't we start? Talk about what you do, who you serve, what inspires you most about the work that you do, and we'll start there.
So right now, I have a business called Evie AI that I'm very
Okay.
focused on. It's an artificial intelligence for LinkedIn. If you're familiar with LinkedIn, LinkedIn is the world's largest professional social network. There's 1 billion people that are using LinkedIn right now, and it's growing really quickly at a rate of 3 new members every second. Their goal
Wow.
is to grow it to 3 billion professionals. On LinkedIn, you can see everybody's first name, last name, company name, where they work. Often you'll get their email and their cell phone number as well. You see where they went to school, your mutual connections. So it's what I call a real networking platform. Whereas with other platforms, it's more of a social networking platform with a lot of people hide behind screen names like Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. You see Big Betty 1423. Whereas on LinkedIn, you see everybody's first and last name. And so if I want to build a relationship with somebody, I can build a relationship with them much easier on LinkedIn than with other platforms. Also, every connection that I make on LinkedIn also becomes a follower of mine. So I'm very big into networking. I wrote a book called High Energy Networking, where I teach
Okay.
people how to get anything they want in life from their relationships, through their relationships, with their relationships. And one of the things that I realized after training over 1,000 companies on how to use LinkedIn is that people don't have the time, and they also don't have the emotional and mental bandwidth to be able to do all the things you need to do to network properly and stay top of mind on LinkedIn. And so when OpenAI developed ChatGPT and they made their API available to the general public, I realized that there's an opportunity to create a solution on LinkedIn to help people be able to transfer their persona into AI and then be able to write content that is in line with the LinkedIn algorithm with a hook, main points, call to action, hashtags. That is also comments that allow you to stay top of mind with your audience. Think about this. If you're doing a podcast and you post your podcast on LinkedIn and then somebody leaves a comment on that podcast, that's very beneficial for you because it signals to the algorithm that that is a popular podcast that it should send out to more people. But also, the person who commented gets real estate under your post. They kind of just sit there and they have their profile under your post, so they associate themselves with you. And so I recommend that people leave 5 to 10 comments a day, but it's hard to do that if you're not using AI as an assistant to help you draft those comments, because to have to come up with what to say after you have all the other responsibilities you have in the day, it becomes really hard. And so I built this AI. We have 15,000 users in 37 countries around the world.
Wow.
And I'm very excited about the impact that we're making on people. My goal is to help people have a voice with AI, to help people network, build relationships, and be more strategic. I believe that the
Mhm.
right strategy will save you a decade. I watched my mother in the Lower East Side try to build her business. She's one of my inspirations. but I watched her try to build her business in the Lower East Side. And after a decade of trying to build her business, eventually she went out of business. And it's not because she wasn't lucky. She was always trying to get lucky, but it's not because she wasn't lucky. Is she didn't have the right strategy. And
Okay.
so, as Tony Robbins always says, success leaves clues. If you want to be able to see what the successful people are doing with Evie AI, you can actually follow all the most successful people on LinkedIn, save them to your profile, put them into a list, and then leave comments on their posts so you can check out what they're doing. And then you can R&D. You can rip off and duplicate, copy what they're doing, change it into your own voice, and then start doing the things that work. And when you do the things that work, when you take all the right actions, that's when you start getting results. Most people will forget that you exist if you don't remind them. You need to remind the people in your world that you exist. And one of the ways to remind your network that you exist is by posting, engaging, and messaging. So I'm a very big fan of coming up with strategies that will help you stay top of mind using tools like LinkedIn together with Evie AI. They'll help you be able to be more successful. In 2008, I launched a marketing agency because I used to build websites for people. And the famous saying is, if you build it, they will come. Have you ever heard that before?
Oh yeah, I've definitely heard that before.
But it turned out that it wasn't true. They
Not
lied.
true.
If you build it, they will not come. You have to market it as well. And so I became very proficient at doing something called search engine optimization. And I was
Mhm.
able to pick up 1,100 clients over the course of a decade. We were on the Inc. 5000 as one of the fastest growing companies in America. And then eventually I met this individual who ended up being a very, very important part of my networking journey. And he introduced me to a company that started spending $45,000 a month with my marketing agency that really opened up my mind to the possibility of the types of clients I can get with networking
Mhm.
versus the type of clients that I would get with cold calling. And
Yes,
so I completely committed to networking and building relationships to the degree that I wrote a book called High Energy Networking. And so I'm a very big fan of $1 million relationships and everything that you stand for. And so I'm excited about sharing my journey.
that is awesome. So with this new product that you've got out, what is, I mean, you can, I'm sure you come up with a number of examples, but what is an example of a way that you've helped somebody get just a really great result that you're really proud of so far? What's an example of something like that,
So
Joe?
if you take a look at our 5-star reviews, and we have
Okay.
many dozens of 5-star reviews on the Google Chrome store on our app,
Okay.
you'll be able to see the things that people are saying. The three biggest advantages that people get is number one is they save time, which you can't buy time with money. You can't
Yep.
replace time. So they save time, especially for busy entrepreneurs, sales professionals. They don't have a lot of time. And so, number one, they save time. Number two is they save their emotional and mental energy because a lot of people have writer's block. They're not sure what to write about. They're not sure what to comment. They're not sure what to message their connections. All those things are solved with our artificial intelligence technology. And number three, the third thing is that it's all about consistency. When you're using this, you're getting consistency. So, as a result of saving time, avoiding writer's block, and then having that consistency, we had one user who got a 1,800% increase in profile views in just 1 week of using our tool.
Wow.
Another user closed a $10,000 deal just within 1 month of using our tool. And so we consistently have users that are reporting that they're getting really good results because LinkedIn is the world's largest professional social network. Microsoft paid $26.2 billion for LinkedIn back in 2016, but LinkedIn's cumbersome and it's not easy to use. So you need a tool, an assistant to guide you through the process of leveraging LinkedIn in an organized, methodical, strategic way. And Evie AI is that tool.
Gotcha. Very good. Very good. That's some pretty phenomenal results too, you know. And
It's a great
okay.
result. We have a company called Atlantic Tomorrow's Office that just got 62 sales reps to start using the tool together, and they are seeing some incredible results as a result of the team using the tool together. And it's just been a few weeks of them using it so far. And one
Okay.
of the sales reps sent me a screenshot that he had a 480% increase in profile views on his own profile, and it's much easier for him to start posting, commenting, messaging people. Like it's like all of a sudden their salespeople have steroids, but they
Yeah.
don't have to have the steroids. They just have
Yeah.
heavy AI.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So now that we've got some context set here, I'm going to shift gears just a little bit. And I'm going to reiterate the question for the benefit of our listeners. And Joe, have you ever been introduced to a person or persons who completely changed the course of your life or your business, so much so that much of what you have today would not be possible if not for this person or persons? And Joe, I'm just really excited to hear your story and your experience around this topic of relationships.
For me, I've had many people enter my life at the right time and have completely changed my life in so many
Okay.
different ways. One of those people is Tony Robbins. I'm a very big fan of personal development,
Yep.
very, very big fan. And I really enjoy reading books and watching seminars and going to courses and classes. And I didn't know what to expect when I decided to go to a Unleash the Power Within event. I've read his
Okay.
book in the past, but reading a book and then experiencing the presence of Tony Robbins with
Mhm.
over 10,000 people in a room is just magical. Like he is the world's most successful professional speaker out there, and he has just built an empire, and he's just so amazing at the production of what he puts together. And if you haven't seen or experienced his presence in your lifetime at one of his events, I highly recommend that you find an event and you go to one in person and you experience what it means to experience his presence. He is so powerful, and the things that he teach, if you implement the things that he teaches, can really be transformational for anybody's life. I went through many challenges over the past couple of years, and if not for the things that I learned from him and the things that I learned from the other personal development teachers that I've had the fortune of meeting and engaging with and hiring, my life would have been much more difficult, and I would not be able to overcome the challenges that I've faced over the past couple of years. Just
Yeah.
the fact that I could be present in the face of many challenges and I could just allow things to just be and surrender to the present moment is a very powerful thing. But, a lot of people don't even know the difference between success and fulfillment. I learned so many things from Tony Robbins. I have pages and pages of notes that often I memorize and I go back and I read. And I actually went to his workshop 3 times. This is a 50-hour seminar that I
Is
did
that
three.
UPW you're talking about?
Yeah, three
Okay.
times I went to it, and I would go again happily. I just have to make time to do it, and I would definitely go again happily. Every time I go, I learn something new. The magic is actually implementing the things that he teaches. But one of the things that he taught me is that success and fulfillment are two very different things.
Okay.
He said success is a science. You can repeat success. Success leaves clues. You can see somebody that has success and then you can repeat it and get to success. But how many billionaires do you know out there that get to the top of the game and they're still depressed? They're still angry. They're still upset. They're still alienating their kids. Whereas fulfillment is more of an art. You got to find what really fills your soul. And so, he said to him, success is doing whatever you want with whoever you want for as long as you want, anywhere you want, anytime you want. Like that's his idea of success.
Mhm.
And so, in meeting him and getting to know his philosophies and understanding his way and his framework of thinking, it really helped me be able to open up my mind to what's possible in my life,
Mhm.
like to have a much bigger impact on humanity, to be able to have the courage to launch a software to impact tens of thousands of people all around the world. We just had our 37th country. Somebody signed up from the 37th country that we're servicing around the world. I have a global business now. It was just a dream a couple of years ago.
Mhm.
And now I'm able to like
Congratulations.
say that my business is global. I have global employees. I have a global workforce. I have global clients. And I'm just so grateful that I'm able to do that and that I have the courage to go and do that and also have the vocabulary. I feel like I learned a lot of words that he uses that has influenced the way that I communicate. And I'm a professional speaker myself, going out there doing seminars. I learned a lot from his way of presenting and from his way of, just working so hard at your craft. And he used to like watch videos of himself doing seminars and improve every little aspect of it. And he would like sometimes do 3 seminars in one day just to get better and better and better. And so I feel like immersion is important. You got to immerse yourself in the concepts, but then having that spaced repetition and making sure that you're doing it over and over. Like, for example, I wanted to get really good at live streaming. So
Okay.
I did my 132nd live stream this year. I'm going to be doing 244 LinkedIn live streams, which also goes to Facebook Live and YouTube Live. So the concept of immersion and spaced repetition and being able to take massive action and the vicious circle of beliefs and action and results and how all that works, very, very impactful, very important to learn the concepts of personal development. Jim Rohn was his teacher, another person who changed my life as well. And he says you can only grow your business as much as you grow yourself. And so finding and attracting the right people has been so important. They both say that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, which I'm sure you heard of. And I know you're familiar with the Genius Network and Joe Polish and all that type of stuff. So surrounding yourself with other people that are pushing to grow, that are into self-development, that are have a growth mindset, that want to be able to challenge the status quo has been really important. I was also introduced to an organization called the EO, the Entrepreneurs
Mm-hmm.
Organization, which I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
you're familiar with. And Entrepreneurs Organization has changed my life. So sometimes you meet a person, it changes your life. Sometimes you meet an organization and it changes
Yeah.
your life.
Yeah.
Vistage also changed my life. Vistage is a CEO organization, it's a global CEO organization, also changed my life. So I went on a organization joining binge back in 2012 when my company hit the Inc. 5000 as number 178 as one of the fastest growing companies in the US. I decided that I had to grow as a leader and I started looking for ways that I can grow and surround myself with other people who are leaders as well. And so I've been able to be fortunate enough to have selfies with the top leaders in the business today, like for example, Gary Vaynerchuk,
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
just meeting people through these organizations and getting to know them and then seeing how they live their life has been really impactful for me. And
Yeah.
so now that I am a published author, a speaker, entrepreneur, father of 5, I really enjoy building those relationships. I took my 18-year-old daughter on a networking boat the other night. There were 50 CEOs that all did over $5 million a year in revenue. And I
Okay.
took her on a boat, an 18-year-old daughter, on a boat, talking to them, building relationships. And they're all just regular humans. That's
Yeah.
the thing
Yeah.
about people. It's so easy to judge somebody by how they look or how they speak or how they are. But if you could remove the self judgment, then you
Mm-hmm.
can stop judging other people too. And then you can just accept the godliness within every single person. And that's where the opportunity lies. Often we prejudge somebody based on how they look or based on how we think they are, because it's really a reflection of how we think we are.
Yeah.
And what ends up happening is we limit our blessings and we limit our opportunities. I believe that we are here to be a conduit of blessing for other people. And as Tony Robbins always says, the secret to living is giving. And so I'm a very big proponent of making a difference for other people. And one of the questions that I like to ask people is, how can I add value to your life?
Yes.
Sometimes it's an introduction. Sometimes it's just information sharing. Sometimes it's an invitation to an event or to an idea or to a book. I've read over 300 personal development books, and I've studied many, like going deep with a marker and reading them over and over and over and over. So I have so many books that have impacted me in such a deep, profound way. And I'm so grateful that I have people like Tony Robbins that could be my mentor. But I would, there's so many other people that I could mention as well
Yeah.
that maybe I haven't met in real life, but they've really impacted me deeply.
Yeah. For sure. If you look, so you've been to, I mean, Tony has obviously been very impactful on your life, and you've shared a little bit, and I want to dig in just a little bit deeper, and I want to, if you look at, all that you have done. Well, first of all, when did you first hear about Tony? When was your first UPW event that you ever went to, Joe?
2015.
2015. So that was we're talking like that's 9 years ago. And So in the last 9 years, so since attending your first UPW and having that first experience with Tony, that then you went back and you've had two more experiences with that, and you were like, I would totally go to another one. I just need to make the time to do that and stuff. But if you look at your interaction with Tony, and I want to look at like where you got to make a really like just a substantial impact, where even you might have been a little bit like surprised, like, wow, look at what just happened there. And you also know that would have never happened if not for the experience that you've had through Tony over the last 9 years. What is an example of something like
I'll
that?
give you an example. You have
Okay,
the concept of you will not take action unless you believe that you're going to get a positive result from the action, because nobody wants to fail.
sure.
So most people are not going to take action until they have a belief. But where does belief even come from? How does somebody even create a belief that will allow them to take action to begin with?
Mhm.
So most people think they need to first get a result. If they have a result, they will then change their belief. Because if you do something and you get a good result from what you did, then you're going to do more of it because you believe you have proof from the past that something is going to work. For example, you might make phone calls if you believe that phone calls will get you to your result. But if you don't believe that phone calls are going to get you to your result, you're not going to make phone calls.
Mhm. Mhm.
But how do you change your belief? You would change your belief by making phone calls. So what comes first, the action or the belief? So he says, even if you don't believe that you're going to get the result that you want, you can still control your actions. And he talks about actions lead to results, which lead to belief, which lead to more action, which lead to more results, which lead to more beliefs, which ultimately is the vicious cycle of actually getting to your goal or stopping you from getting to your goal. So that circle itself, I'm reminded myself every single time I don't take action, there's usually a strong belief that's stopping me from not taking action. And so that reminds me, I got to just take the action. So sometimes I see somebody, I'm at an airport and I see somebody, and intuition is telling me to talk to the person. But then my ego is telling me, what if they reject me? What if I look stupid?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
all of a sudden I say, you know what? If I look stupid, I'll look stupid. So
I
what?
look
I'm still going to take massive action. I'll walk over to the person, introduce myself. Hello, my name is Joe Apfelbaum. I noticed you over here, and I just say whatever it is that I noticed about them. And I'm just curious to know, why do you think the heavens come over to you and talk to you? And all of a sudden, it turns out that they're a massive opportunity for me, whether it's an opportunity in my personal life or opportunity in my business. And so I have constantly been walking over to people and just having conversations with them and making an observation about them, making a guess about them, and just, whether it's at a trade show, walking over to somebody that usually my ego would stop me from walking over to them, or it's at the airport or a cafe. I walk over to people and make comments and talk to them, and it turns into incredible relationships. I met a pastor in a gym. I literally just walked over to him and I said, "You looks really, really interesting. What do you do for a living?" And he's like, "I'm a pastor." I was like, I never met a pastor in a locker room at a gym. He's like, "Who are you?" He's like, "Who are you?" I said, "You're going to find out by talking to me a little more." And I'm in his address book now. That's the
That's awesome.
idea.
That's
The idea
awesome.
is building relationships, getting to know people, not judging them, but instead being the light that you need to be. And so watching him just be totally authentic and totally on and not really care about the haters. So many people were hating on him because of the comments that he made and blah, blah, blah. That didn't stop him from taking massive action.
Yeah.
Usually that's going to stop people from taking action. They're going to be like, "Oh, I don't want to upset anybody, whatever it is." No, he's going to take massive action. He's going to keep moving forward. I used to think that all coaches were frauds. I had a belief coaches were frauds.
Mhm.
If you're a coach, that's because you can't own a business. That's why you're a coach. And then I met an incredible coach who happened to have hundreds of millions of dollars. And I realized that even though he's running successful companies and has hundreds of millions of dollars, he still takes the time to coach people. Why? Because that's what brings him fulfillment. That's what makes him feel alive. And I realized, you know what? I'm not going to not coach people on how to use LinkedIn. because that's what brings me happiness. And so even I have tons of money and I don't have to do it, I enjoy doing it. And so even though my ego says you're much bigger than just being a LinkedIn trainer, you're much greater than just that. Why are you going to limit yourself to teaching people LinkedIn? I happen to be really good at networking, really good at LinkedIn, really good at building relationships and connecting and building rapport. And so if I can teach one person and if I can change one person's lives, that would be fantastic. My goal, just so you know, is not to go viral. I already got COVID. I don't need to go viral anymore. My goal is to help 1,000 people live a better life. And if I can help 1,000 people live a better life, that is just unbelievable. So for me, if I can help 1,000 people, each help 1,000 people, I impact 1,000,000 people because 1,000 times 1,000 is 1,000,000.
Okay.
In the Jewish studies, I learned to be a rabbi. In the Jewish studies, it doesn't say the word 1,000,000 anywhere in the Bible. It says 1,000 or 1,000 thousands when it wants to say 1,000,000.
Okay.
So 1,000 is a number that we can actually look at and understand. You can't understand 1,000,000. It's a number that's way too big. You can't understand a billion, but everyone can understand 1,000. You could look at 1,000 rows in an Excel sheet, but if you try to look at 1,000,000 rows in an Excel sheet, you go out of your mind.
Yeah.
But 1,000, you could look at 1,000. You can make 1,000 phone calls a year. You can't make 1,000,000 phone calls a year. You can make 1,000 phone calls a year. You know how you make 1,000 phone calls a year? 5 a day. 5 a day, 20 a week, 80 a month. That's 1,000 phone calls a year, phone conversations a year. You could have 1,000 relationships, even though Robin Dunbar has a law that it's called the Dunbar number, that you can only have up to 250 relationships, or some people say 150 relationships if you're not a networker. But the idea is that you can't have too many relationships. But if you're an active CEO, if you're in the business world, you could have 1,000 relationships. You know that. You could have people that you know, that you could know 1,000 people over the course of several years and really get to know them and go deep with them. Maybe not at one time, but I went to a GLC conference, a global leadership conference for entrepreneurs organization, and there were 1,000 people there. And I built a relationship with many of the 1,000 people. So 1,000 is a number that's really close to my heart, and 1,000 is not going viral. If you get 1,000 views on a video, you didn't go viral.
No.
But if you got 1,000 people to see 1,000 of your videos, that's going deep. That's being strategic. On the Inc. 5,000 list, I typically will connect to 1,000 CEOs every year that are on the list, either through LinkedIn or through building relationships or through email or through my mastermind groups that I host. So for me, I always tell people I want 1,000 people to see me 1,000 times a year. Kevin Kelly wrote a article for Wired magazine. It's called 1,000 Fans. I don't know if have you heard of the?
I have heard of that. Yes.
So that's very famous. So that speaks near and dear to my heart around the number 1,000. So if you can get 1,000 followers on YouTube, you're doing really well. Most people don't even have 100 followers on YouTube. Try to go and get 1,000 followers on YouTube, 1,000 strategic followers, 1,000 followers that know you, like you, and trust you, 1,000 subscribers that try to get 1,000 email addresses of people that know you, like you, and trust you, and send them an email for 1,000 weeks and see what happens.
Yeah. That powerful. I mean, I know, my list is way smaller than 1,000, but it's the right people, for sure.
How many episodes did you do in your podcast?
I think we just released our 246th or 47th episode.
You're 25% almost to 1,000. You will get to 1,000 one day if you're consistent and you keep doing it. You will get to 1,000, and when you look at the 1,000, you'll go back to this episode and you'll be like, "Damn, son, I got to 1,000." 1,000 is a real number. I have 500 recommendations on LinkedIn. My goal is to have 1,000 recommendations on LinkedIn.
Wow.
I have 500. I'm halfway there. But I'm not rushing. I'm going to do maybe one every few weeks. I just got one on September 4th. Maybe I'll get one again tomorrow. I want to make a difference for people. I want 1,000 clients, 1,000 paying clients for Evie AI, but 1,000 meaningful paying clients that have multiple users. I'm going to get there eventually. But right now I have 15,000 people using it. People are loving it. They're getting a lot of value. For me to get 1,000 clients at Ajax Union, it took me a decade. I almost have 1,000 clients at Evie AI in just a year. So in terms of my speed of making a difference for people, making an impact for people, adding value, That's where I want to go. And if I could amplify that value and I could help 1,000 people each help their 1,000 people, I'll impact 1,000,000 people.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, when you break it down like that, now all of a sudden that sounds and seems doable, you know.
That's
And
what I want for people. I
yeah,
want people to believe they can do it.
yes,
I want you to know that if the average CEO has 930 connections on LinkedIn, be just above average. Have 1,000 connections on LinkedIn.
yeah,
I'll say this again. The average user on LinkedIn has 440 connections, but the average CEO has 930 connections. Be above average. Have 1,000 connections on LinkedIn, which means you'll have 1,000 followers. And if you could have 1,000 people in your world, there's nothing you can't accomplish. If
yeah,
you have 1,000 people in your world, 1,000, it seems so small, but it's a huge number.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, I'll tell you that yeah, that is powerful. And I know there's people listening to this going, man, Kev, I really appreciate what Joe is sharing. I love Joe. I love how he shows up. For anybody that's listening, thinking to that, Joe, I want to make sure any websites, any resources we
Well,
can share with them.
first of all, if you're listening to this, wherever you're listening to this, make sure that you give it a like. Okay, that's number one. Give it a like. If it's on YouTube, give it a like. If it's on YouTube, give it a comment. If it's on LinkedIn, give it a like, give it a comment. Right away, right now. Stop what you're doing. If you're listening to it on a podcast on Apple Podcasts, stop what you're doing and share it. Take a moment and share it. The key is sharing is caring. And so if you're hearing, making sure that show us that you're caring by sharing. And so go out and put it out there and send it to the world, send it to a friend, send it out there. If you want to be able to get resources from me, if you want to find more, listen to more, find me on YouTube. Go to
Okay.
youtube.com/at Joe Apfelbaum, or you could
Okay.
find me on LinkedIn. If you go to linkedin.com/in/Joe Apfelbaum, or I bought a domain, joelinkedin.com. And if you want to see a demonstration video of Evie AI,
Uh-huh.
you can send the word demo, DEMO, to 973-841-8868. So if you go
Okay.
973-841-8868, you'll be able to get a demonstration video of Evie AI. If you send the word demo to 973-841-8868, write that number down, send a text message to that number with the word demo, and you're going to get back a link to watch on LinkedIn, which you'll be able to find. So as soon as you get that link, watch that video and then leave a comment on that video so that I know you watched it. That's the key.
Perfect.
And my
Perfect.
goal is to be able to get 1,000 people to watch that video in a meaningful way and then sign up to Evie AI. I have almost 10,000 people that already watched the video because LinkedIn shows you the impressions. I'm
Uh-huh.
going to put out, when we come out with Evie AI Pro, right now we only have premium, but when we come out with Pro, which includes dashboards and AI calling and tons of other stuff, I'm going to want 1,000 people to comment on that video eventually. And you're
Yeah.
going to see right now I have several hundred people that have commented on that video and that have liked it, but you're going to see my transition from a few hundred to 1,000. And that number, that 1,000 number, have you ever had a post on any platform that had 1,000 likes?
Me personally, no. I have not had 1,000 likes on any post.
I would love to challenge you to try to get 1,000 likes on anything.
Mhm.
And just to see how difficult it is to get 1,000 people to take an action, but also how gratifying it is when you hit that 1,000 number. Have you ever ran 1,000 miles?
No. No, not even close.
Have you ever walked 1,000 miles?
Well, maybe in my lifetime, maybe. I don't know.
And see, the thing is, a lot of people don't know because they don't measure. What gets measured gets managed. So what I would encourage you to do is get a tracker like Strava and start going for a walk and make it your goal to walk 1,000 miles. It could be over a year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever. But then you'll have it measured and you'll see 1 year I wanted to run 1,000 miles. And then I saw, oh my God, I can do this. I can run 1,000 miles in a year. If I track it, I'll know that I'll be able to do it. It's only 80 miles a month.
Mhm.
It's doable. You can run 80 miles a month. If you push yourself and you say, okay, I'm going to be doing it. And then you go off and you do it and you're able to run 5 miles, 4 days a week. And then boom, you do it for an entire year. You have 1,000 miles under your belt. That's a big number. That's 2 pairs of sneakers because every sneaker will last 500 miles. But the idea is understanding the 1,000 number. One year I wanted to do 1,000 selfies with 1,000 CEOs.
Okay.
Another year I wanted to do 1,000. If you go to my LinkedIn, you'll see a wall of selfies. I did it.
Okay.
I got 1,000 selfies with 1,000 CEOs, and in the center you see me and Gary Vaynerchuk with a selfie with 700 CEOs behind us at an EO
Wow.
event.
Wow. Very
So
cool.
what I want you to do is set strong goals. Set strong goals to impact people deeply. And if you feel like you want to do big things, start with the 1,000 number and see the impact that you're able to make.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it. Well, Joe, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation today. I am really stoked to get this out there and share it with a whole lot of other entrepreneurs. And any last thing you feel compelled to share before we call it around?
Let's get a goal to get 1,000 people to listen to this. How
Okay.
about that?
All right.
How about let's
Perfect.
set a goal to put it on YouTube and get 1,000 people. Do you put it on you? I think you put them on YouTube. I
Yeah,
saw a
we
couple
do put them
YouTube
on
videos.
YouTube. Yeah.
So when
Yeah.
you put it on YouTube, or what's your platform where you have the most bang for your buck? Where do you get the most?
Definitely YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you have hundreds of subscribers on YouTube, just make sure to try to get at least, 10 to 20 people to comment on it, which will push the post even more. I'll make sure that I like and comment on it as well.
Okay.
But get your audience to like and comment on it. And if you're listening to this, go find it on YouTube. Type in Kevin Thompson and Joe Apfelbaum. Find it on YouTube. And what will end up happening is we'll get 1,000 views because you can see how many views each video has on YouTube. It
Mhm.
shows it to the
Mhm.
public. So
Yeah.
if we can get 1,000 views on a video, that might be your most popular video
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. For sure. That's
in
awesome.
this year, because I saw you had ones that had 30,000 views in the past.
Yeah.
Your total channel has 250,000 views, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw this. If you go to About, you'll be able to see that some of your videos have a lot of views. But if we get 1,000, that is impact. That's an impact that I'm making.
Yeah.
So I want to encourage you guys to go out there and read some books for people that you appreciate. For example, you might want to read my book, High Energy Networking, or High Energy Marketing, or High Energy Purpose. I wrote many books on energy and like how to use energy to do things like network or market or find your purpose or whatever. But find those books that mean something to you for the people that you get to know, and then reach out to the authors. Most people don't do this, but I read a book called Getting Things Done by David Allen. That book changed my life.
Okay.
Changed my life completely. Have you read it?
I have not read that book.
Dude, such an epic book. If you ever want to stop procrastinating and have stress-free productivity, it's one of the best books out there.
Okay.
And it impacted me so deeply. By the way, you can also shift your question and say, was there ever a person or an organization or a book that changed your life so much that you left you like changed forever and ever and ever? So you can do like the person, you can do the organization,
Yeah.
and then you can do the book.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then, you take it from the person to the book because, at the end of the day, a book is technically a person because there's a person behind the book.
That's right.
And so someone puts their life work into a book and you read the book, you're basically reading their life and you're spending 8 to 10 hours with that person. That's powerful. So think about spending 8 to 10 hours with Brian Tracy. Think about spending 8 to 10 hours with Dale Carnegie. Think of spending 8 to 10 hours with Napoleon Hill, with Tony Robbins, with Gary Vaynerchuk, with whoever your favorite authors are. You get their book and you immerse yourself in it and you're like, wow, I built a relationship with this person. I don't even know the person. They don't even know me, but I know them.
Yes.
And also the same thing with like listening to people's podcasts. If you had a podcast where you did most of the speaking, right now I'm doing most of the speaking. In the intro, you were doing a lot of speaking, but now I'm doing most of the speaking because you're interviewing me and I'm sitting here as your guest. And, you know what you have in your head. You want to know what's in my head.
That's
So
right.
if you're listening to what's in somebody's head, and most of the time when I go live, I'm talking a lot. I'm constantly talking on live. And so if somebody goes through and binge watches 100 of my videos that I just did this year alone, they're going to get to know me a little bit, spending 100 hours with me.
Yeah.
And some people do that. And when I get on the phone with them, and they're like, damn, son, damn, I know you.
That's That's right.
I know you, but people aren't willing to do the work. That's the thing. People aren't willing to put up a video if they're only going to have one people watch it.
Yeah.
Like, think about that. But if on average I get 100 people to watch a video, and then every 10 videos, I'm getting 1,000 people to watch the video. That's an impact.
That's right. That's right.
So think
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. Well, Joe, once again, thank you. So man, I just gotta acknowledge you. You are like the epitome of energy, man. You have such good energy, and just I really appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation today and just share from your heart. And I'm really excited to get it out there. And so once again, thanks so much. Really appreciate you, Joe.
My pleasure. I'll see you again very soon. Thank you, Kevin. And thank you, everybody watching. Have a wonderful day. Don't forget to like it, comment it, and share it.
That's right.
Boom.
That's right.